welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm just going to be talking about the new direction the DC Universe seems to be going in under the direction of James Gunn, and I can't remember his name. Anyway, before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel and ring that bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Also, hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and please share with your friends to help us connect with more people. I'm trying to expand this channel and develop more content to be able to produce. Anyway, I'll go ahead and get into it. Recently, I've been reading a lot of articles regarding the new direction that they're going with DC, and there is nothing that they're actually going with, from what I can tell. I can't really tell what direction they're taking. Based on what I've seen, I mean, originally I assumed that Henry Cavill would be returning as Superman. I mean, granted, the movies already were very disjointed from what I could tell, and I love anything regarding DC Universe. For me, Superman, it was always my favorite character. He was always someone that was supposed to be inspiring, hopeful, and I wasn't one of the big fans of the Man of Steel storylines, but I grew to like it over time, and I wasn't a vocal person about it either. Online, I generally didn't talk about it, and even with most of my friends, it wasn't something that I cared to talk about because it's just a movie. But mostly, personally, I didn't understand the fad behind the whole dark take on Superman. But I will say this: it did resonate with a lot of people, and that's something that needs to be done in movies today. And generally speaking, Henry Cavill is the best man for the role. But another thing that I've noticed is a clear they're completely resigned to actually making a movie focused on him. And not only that, but even some of the other casting, like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, they seem to be kind of abandoning that whole direction, from what I can tell. One second, I'm going to open up this article I found on Variety. One moment. Okay, so when I was reading this article, it takes place basically after after seeing the whole Wonder Woman 1984 debacle, the sequel. It seems this is what they're talking about in the article. It says Wonder Woman 1984 sequel on ice, potential Man of Steel 2 in jeopardy as Warner Brothers considers major DC reboot. And so it continues: could DC be hitting the reboot button? A sequel to 2020's Wonder Woman 1984, which that movie in itself was not really a sequel, more of a prequel, as many of you already know. And honestly, that movie in particular wasn't the best that they could have done. It had a lot of its flaws. I mean, a potential grape in there. There's a lot of different things that just it really did not go well. But I honestly just think it's because of the fact that it was very disjointed from the beginning. You can't establish a universe as disjointed as they did. And it could have been better if they had made like the Batman v Superman movie. I remember telling my brother all about this. It was a big deal that they even generally made that movie what it was. And like they combined two different stories. They had Batman versus Superman. That's one whole storyline on its own. Superman versus Lex Luthor. Another storyline all on its own. And then you have Superman, the death of Superman, as a whole other. That in itself is a Justice League story. The death of Superman is the whole Justice League story. And they kind of threw that in together. The formation of the Justice League was kind of in there. At the same time, it wasn't, because they killed off Superman. Had this been like the third movie of Superman or a Justice League movie, and you have the entire Justice League involved, it might have been a bit better. It would have gone over well. And honestly, that version of Batman was great. It just needed that. It was too disjointed. People didn't really know who this Batman was, and I don't like doing origin stories all the time. I don't like seeing it all the time. If it's a new character, sure, but everyone kind of knows who Batman is. So I feel like they could have just set it up in a way where his origin was like they did. They did a flashback. That whole part was great. Like I said, there were little things that were already flawed from the get-go. And so the fact that they're canceling potentially, here's what the article continues to say. The article says I kind of went on a rant there, but generally the article says, a sequel to 2020's Wonder Woman 1984 from director Patty Jenkins is not moving forward at Warner Brothers, as new DC Studios chiefs James Gunn and Peter Safran prepare to unveil their strategy next week for the future of DC adaptations to Warner Brothers. Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Only Gunn and Safran know for sure whether they'll be saying what they'll. Oh dang it! What the heck? Only just 1 second. My brain. Only Gunn and Safran know for sure what they'll be saying to Zaslav, but the presentation has the potential to mark a critical inflection point for the company, with the very real possibility that the cinematic universe created by filmmaker Zack Snyder would reach a definitive end following the premiere of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in December 2023. According to a studio insider, after Jenkins submitted a treatment for a third Wonder Woman, she was informed by studio leadership that it did not mesh with Gunn and Safran's emerging plans for the DC universe. And the studio would not make the project. Curiously, on Monday, Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot posted to social media that she was so grateful for the opportunity to play such an incredible, iconic character, and that she can't wait to share her next chapter with you, sparking widespread speculation as to what the next chapter would be. A representative for Warner Brothers declined to comment on a representative for Jenkins did not actually respond to a request for comment. Man of Steel star Henry Cavill also recently teased that he was set to reprise his performance as Superman after his brief appearance in the post-credit scene of October's Black Adam opposite Dwayne Johnson. But now both Henry Cavill and Johnson's future with DC is open for questioning, or it's an open question, with a Hollywood Reporter story suggesting that new DC Studios plans could kill any potential Man of Steel sequel, while the prospects of another installment of Black Adam have been harmed by the shaky financial returns at the box office. Now here's the thing, when it comes to these projects, from what I can tell, it seems they're trying to kind of mask the overall advertising marketing regarding the whole projects. I think they're either trying to mask it all so they can actually finally keep a secret regarding their projects, which I don't like it when they're dishonest in this way. It's a dishonest thing, very disingenuous. And if they're either don't say anything or just leave it, like they should have just left it in the air. But then again, nowadays with everyone always prying for questions or prying for answers, and constantly trying to find some kind of hidden agenda or whatever, it's always going to be a thing that they're always going to have questions, and people, they have to give some kind of answer. So I guess this disingenuous answer kind of seems well founded, but it's annoying. It's just annoying. However, I will say this: for me, whenever I saw the Black Adam movie, I didn't even think that it was going to be a huge success. Sure, The Rock would have brought in a huge audience, but the big issue is the Black Adam is not really a superhero leading man role. He has always been a side character or a support role for Shazam, and for The Rock, he doesn't see it that way. He wants to separate himself from Shazam, and you can't do that really if you want to have a successful character, and that more than likely harmed a lot of its prospects for a future if he's not going to work if he's not going to be allowing his character to flourish the way it's supposed to as a villain for Shazam. And he doesn't have to be killed off, he just has to be beaten. Anyway, I'm going to continue reading this. At the heart of all of it is a deeply fraught history of what fans have dubbed the Snyderverse, the series of DC adaptations that first launched with 2013's Man of Steel, and cast Cavill, Gadot, Aquaman, Aquaman star Jason Momoa, and The Flash star Ezra Miller as Earth's mightiest heroes. From the start, Snyder's morally gray and visually gritty approach proved divisive with DC fans and general audiences alike. Some loved it, others hated it. But while Snyder effectively exited the DC universe after 2017's Justice League, only returning for 2021's recut of Zack Snyder's Justice League, after a relentless online campaign. Relentless, I guess, yeah, definitely. Most of the actors Snyder cast remained in their own individual franchises. Most of those post-Snyder movies were major financial successes. But the Snyderverse has also been dogged by scandals. Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg in both Justice League films, I wouldn't call them both Justice League films, just the same one, just different cuts. Anyway, he parted ways with Warner Brothers in 2021 after waging his own relentless online campaign alleging misconduct by previous studio leadership. And while The Flash is still scheduled to debut in June, Miller, who apologized in August to everyone, he said, "To everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior." After weathering a litany of misconduct and abuse allegations, is all but certain to be done with the character. There's still every chance that Cavill, Godot, Momoa, and Johnson could return to the DC fold in one way or another. They are enormously popular, obviously, very enormous popular stars. The article was written by, I'm trying to see where the name. Okay, I couldn't find where the article was written by. One second. I want to give credit to where it's due, but where is the article? Okay, the article is written by Adam B. Very. I must have just missed it. It's written by Adam B. Very from Variety. Generally speaking, I can't really say what I really gathered from this article. It's very vague, and as much as anyone can, no one can really be sure what's going to happen in DC. My idea is that they're trying to cover things up a little bit, trying to keep things tight and very, very secretive. One second. So, from what I gather, they're trying to keep things very secretive, very hidden. They don't want to reveal too much. They're trying to keep things close-knit so they can figure out a real plan. More than likely, they don't even have a plan to begin with. I mean, it's difficult to have one with such a very disjointed universe. You don't have a cohesive universe built up like Marvel did. And they can't try to compete with Marvel. Honestly, at this point, they need to stop trying to compete and just make their own thing. Do what they can with what they have, and then keep moving forward. If they try to keep fixating, or they try to fixate on trying to be like Marvel, it's not going to do well. And so, what I have to say about all this is that obviously they need to build a cohesive universe. You need Superman at the helm as the leading man, and then you have Wonder Woman as the leading woman, and then you have Batman as kind of like the middle ground between these two people. He doesn't really fully join the league. You have the Matt Reeves version of Batman, which obviously that has its own area of writing. It kind of doesn't really fit fully with the entirety of the DCEU. And honestly, part of me really wants them to it may be a bit sad, but I kind of want them to reboot the whole thing, start from scratch. And although I would love Henry Cavill to lead the whole project, and personally, I still think he could. And from what I can tell, from what I've heard in certain rumors, is that they're wanting to somehow do a Kingdom Come style story, which would be interesting. Kind of sad though. It's a very depressing story, and I just want to see. I want to see a very hopeful Superman. I want to see that return to the symbol of hope that he was, just not just in words, but in actions, in deeds, in his ability to save lives, but also to inspire others to do good, not inspire them to want to question every turn, everything he does at every turn. I get it. Superman in this Man of Steel version and the Snyder version, it's supposed to be reflective of what would happen if Superman existed in the real world, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that it has its place. In fact, I still enjoy it. In fact, I wouldn't mind them making multiple Superman movies. I mean, more Superman the better. To me, that's why have less? Just have more Superman, more Wonder Woman, more Batman, more. But they do need to establish a set universe first. Once they establish a set one, the one that is their primary, then they can expand into alternate realities, alternate Earths, whatever they want to do, or alternate timelines. Don't do the Marvel thing. Alternate, no Spider-Verse particularly, where it's all tied to one character. They need to do a particular format where that allows them to keep these universes separate, not tied together at all. They need to really focus on actually keeping things cohesive first, and then they can expand. With the Wonder Woman movie, I hope if they do continue the whole thing the way it is, and they're just, like I said, if they're trying to just keep things under wraps by being dishonest and disingenuous, then it could just be that they're just trying to keep things under wraps, and they might actually still develop a Wonder Woman movie with Gal Gadot and still develop everything as needed. But if they do a Wonder Woman movie, I'm hoping that they focus on her and her relationship with the Amazons, other Greek threats like a Minotaur, something involving something comic book. Even more so, I prefer something comic book accurate. I mean, it'd be great if she had to face Cersei. I mean, that's another one. I mean, that in particular would be an interesting storyline. And then you have the you have Superman versus Brainiac. It's a movie that I want to see very much. I would love a Superman versus Brainiac movie. I mean, there are so many comic book sources out there for so many resources at their disposal that they could use and adapt into a proper movie and a proper franchise. And they don't even have to continue from where the other ones left off. They could do a soft reboot and basically make Man of Steel 2. Don't even make Man of Steel 2. Just call the movie Superman and versus Brainiac, or Superman and how the old movies were made, where they had a name, the subtitle, just like how they did Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. That movie was a bit weirdly named, but it kind of fits nowadays. It kind of works at this point. It's the best way for them to kind of branch or segue off from the other movies and kind of change up the style of how these movies establish things, and make sure that they need to make sure that they establish a cohesive universe. Anyway, that's all I can really have to say for today. Please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. And hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. Well, see ya.